Book 217. Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to Morning Motivation with Matthew Daniels, and today I'm going to tell you guys about the Jewish worship of the Egyptian god Set before Yahweh. That's right, the Jewish worship of the Egyptian god Set before Yahweh. But what is Matthew Daniels talking about? A long time ago, in the land that we now call Egypt today, there lived an Egyptian priest and scribe named Manetho. This scribe wrote several works during his lifetime, including one that is known to us today as the History of Egypt. Much of this work has been lost over the millenniums, but luckily, one of my ancestors, no less, lived during the time that Manetho lived, and he read this work with his own two eyes. This ancestor has passed down the contents of this work directly to me from mouth to ear over the many generations that have passed. So, I will now relate to you a very interesting historical account of the years which the people we call Jews lived in the land of Egypt. I was told that while the Jews lived in a place called Avaris, they were called by the Egyptians the Amu, and they had a dynasty of rulers who were their kings. These kings were known as the Hyksos kings. The first of these kings was a man named Salidas, and he ruled for 19 years. Next, a man named Yaqub Har ruled for 44 years. After him, a powerful king named Kion ascended to the Hyksos throne, and he held sway over their society for 61 years. After him, there was Ananas, who ruled for 50 years, and then Apophis, who ruled for 61 years. The last Hyksos king to sit on the throne was a man named Sakir Har, and he ruled for 40 years. These were the men who ruled as kings in Egypt, deriving their power directly from the reputation of their ancestor that the Jews called Joseph. According to Manetho, and according to the archaeological record, when the Hyksos kings sat on the throne, they needed a god to be the god of their dynasty, as was the custom in the land of Egypt. And since their lawgiver, Moses, had not yet learned the name Yahweh, they sought out a god amongst the Egyptian pantheon. The first king, Salidas, learned of an Egyptian god named Set, who was the god of foreigners, the god of the mountains and desert regions, and also the god of fire and war. King Salidas knew that his people were foreign to the land, and he knew that they had migrated from the desert regions to the east of Egypt. And so he made the claim that it was the god Set who had encouraged Abraham to leave the land of Ur of the Chaldees and migrate towards Egypt. So he made Set the god of his dynasty, and every king after him, and even the people themselves, worshipped Set as the great god of their people. This is why the Bible records that Moses met God in a burning bush, and he spoke to God on a mountain. Set was the god of fire and of the mountains. And even when the Bible says that Moses sought to go out into the desert wilderness to properly worship their God, this was because Set was said to live in those desert regions to the east of Egypt. And so, Set was worshipped for hundreds of years before the name Yahweh was ever spoken by the Jewish people. Indeed, the writers of the Bible have edited this history for their own reasons, but we still have the accurate history preserved for us through the writings of Manetho and the oral history of my ancestors. And so, the morning motivation of today is the Jewish worship of the Egyptian god Set before Yahweh. In life, we can sometimes feel the need to lie about or hide our past. We can be ashamed about things we have done, things we have said, and places we have been. We can think that if people knew who we were before they met us, their impression of us might change. But sometimes when you talk about your past, you can help someone who is where you used to be get better. So today, be better than yesterday, but do not be ashamed, and always strive to do that which is good. And remember, you are awesome, you are amazing, you are wonderful, and you are great. And you are going to change the world. I just hope I'm still alive to see it, family. I'm out. Good morning.